O3C is a podcast series where myself and two of my very best gaming chums have been counting down our top 100 favourite video games of all time. Our lists are as eclectic as they come, but there are of course some games that will inevitably feature on all three of our lists. When this glorious moment of unification happens, we will produce one of these videos where we combine all three of our contributions from the podcast for a game that has officially been our 3 cents approved. Starting this week, we have Chris's game.
Oh, hello.
Chris, can you please tell us what your 50th favourite video game of all time is, please?
I'd love to, because I think it's one that you both enjoy. So you can all celebrate with me.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
We live for this shit.
One of the problems that comes with the format of this show is that naturally games that we deem list-worthy, that have come out after we lock down our lists, are not eligible.
Yeah.
So it means we've mentioned before, like Jonathan, you've had things like Dark Souls and Dead Cells that you would place very highly and can't submit.
Yeah.
For Minty, you might say you would put in like Dragon Quest 11, I'm sure would rank somewhere.
Oh yeah.
For kind of how much you enjoyed it at the time. Like for me, the Tetris games like Effect and 99 are both great. But a weird side issue that hasn't really come up so far is the idea of sort of the iterative release, like something that might have come out and improved upon a game that was on our list a little bit, but not enough to kind of be a different thing, if that makes sense.
It does not, but I'm sure it will in a matter of moments.
Oh, he's put a game in on a technicality, hasn't he?
Hypothetically, if I'd highlighted, say, FIFA 18 as one of my favourite games of all time for some reason, there's a good chance that playing 19 and 20, they'd iterated upon and improved upon the previous entries, and thus potentially rendering the one that's on my list kind of void, because it's something that you just assume is going to get better.
Yes.
Sure.
And for me, a game that does sit on my list and fits this conundrum is Super Smash Bros. Because the N64 original was comfortably bested by Melee on the GameCube.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Then, outside of the hyper competitive scene who stuck with the GameCube forever, was then usurped by Brawl on the Wii. And then again, for most people, was kind of beaten again by the fourth entry on the Wii U and the 3DS. And when we made these lists, obviously the edition that was most recent was the one on the Wii U and the 3DS, the horribly titled Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS.
Yeah.
So that is the game that sits at number 50 on my list. So Smash Bros. As a game, despite all of us obviously accepting that Smash Ultimate is, the ultimate take on that game's format, essentially.
Absolutely.
So
they nailed that.
Any one of these games is great. Any one of them stands like largely individually within the fighting genre for what it offers. And it just happens that Ultimate is not on the list, but we know that it is greater than its forebears, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to talk about this series quite generally, but obviously for this list, it's going to say Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, because that was the one that came out at the time. Everyone knows what Smash Bros. Is. If you're listening to this podcast, I'd be absolutely amazed if you didn't know what this game was. But just to flesh things out, you pick one of a cavalcade of characters from across Nintendo's own history, as well as increasingly the history of other third-party developers as well. You fight in one of many stages themed around the levels or worlds or concepts or themes connected with these different franchises that are represented in the character roster, and you win by knocking your opponents out of bounds of the map, essentially. And then you just have fun, indefinitely. You just have fun. And it's a game that's got better and better through the expansion of these core concepts. So, all the things we mentioned, it has also been amazing as a game that is very, very accessible, but with the option for like serious depth for people who really want to get into it. Over time, it's become like a poster child for just wild excess.
Yeah.
Looking at Smash Ultimate, there's about 1,000 music tracks. Like, Jeremy, are you insane? That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. And it's become like, it's a celebration. It's a franchise that's about celebration, not just of Nintendo's history, but of just all gaming. So we're at the point now where, you could play around where you uppercut Pikachu playing as Street Fighter's Ryu, while stages from WarioWare play behind you, and the music soundtrack is a song from Sonic R. Or you could find yourself ground pounding Earthbound's Ness whilst playing as Donkey Kong, as you're flying around the Wii Sports Woohoo Island to the sweeping orchestral soundtrack of Mario Galaxy. Or you could inhale and absorb the abilities of Pac-Man whilst playing as Kirby on a stage that's literally being constructed around you because it's inspired by Mario Maker, and in the background is the open world theme of Hyrule Field. Like, it's an amazing combination of just so much of what we understand and enjoy from games, And it's always fun to play, because even if you're doing badly, even if you're not having a good round, you still have a lot of these little bits that you can latch onto and kind of take something from. It's a game I've played quite a lot of over the years, like different versions, but particularly the one on the Wii U and the 3DS. It is a game I am still pretty shit at, but above all, it's just a game I'm amazed it can exist, because, as I mentioned, it's a licensing clusterfuck. Surely it must be just a nightmare to sort this shit out. All the fights are always manic. Like, Smash Brothers is great for the casual player because it's not really about precision in the way that something like Street Fighter or Virtua Fighter is. The fights are meant to be quite messy and sloppy and unpredictable, and much in the same way that Mario Kart as a franchise is built around allowing a better player to win, but that better player still sometimes being undone by like RNG or rubber banding. Smash kind of will let you learn its systems, it lets you understand your character that you choose as your kind of main choice, but always potentially lets you be at the behest of the game's essentially like internal dice rolls. Stuff can go wrong, and that's kind of part of the fun. Like there's items, there's support characters that will pop up and appear with the sole intention of just wrecking your day.
Oh yeah.
There's stages that will deform on the fly and drop you into an abyss just as you're about to release like your final smash. There are certain characters that no matter how many times you play against, they always seem to be able to do you in with some weird combo that you can't manage to pull off yourself. It's an exciting layered experience, and I think Smash Bros represents, fighting games for people who don't care about fighting games, and because of that, it's a great solo game, it's a great multiplayer game, and it's one, like I said, I've played a lot on my own. I played a lot in co-op with my brother. I've played competitively with friends, but in every iteration, right through to the Wii U, which obviously hits this list, but also in Ultimate since then, it's a game that makes me very, very happy, whilst at the same time making me swear really angrily at the people I'm playing with, and also just shake my head in disbelief at the sheer amount of content that is smashed into it. It's my 50th favourite video game, but it's kind of my 50th favourite video game, like I said, is essentially Smash Bros, the concept, as opposed to any individual game so much.
Sure.
Could be the blocky polygons, the N64, it could be the crisp HD presentation, the Wii U and the Switch. Because honestly, I think to love games is to love Smash Bros, and to love Smash Bros is to love games, and that, I think, is a really good way to open Season 2, my number 50. A game about games, for gamers, and everyone in between.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you've said. And I think I said when we were playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate that it is such a celebration of games and almost like a museum, a gallery of everything that not just Nintendo has achieved and created, but like we said, branching out to flipping Pac-Man and Sonic and Metal Gear Solid, and it's just stupid, isn't it?
My main is Ike.
From Fire Emblem.
Who's yours?
I mean, I always used to be Roy. Roy was my boy. I liked playing as Link, like playing as Samus, Donkey Kong.
All right, greedy.
All right.
These are all characters.
For the last couple of games, I always chose Princess Peach.
Interesting.
Ooh.
You love pulling those turnips.
Yeah, I never really used the turnip so much as the big forward bum charge.
Yes.
I always found very satisfying.
I'm sure that more memories of Super Smash Brothers will come out in time.
I know I've said this a lot of times in the podcast, but I really miss manuals.
Ah, yes.
I miss the little blurb at the beginning setting the scene for whatever you're about to play, the nice glossy finish, the page at the back to write notes on for little secrets or, Easter eggs you find, fun diagrams telling you what buttons do what, the reassuring presence of something you can refer to if you have a brain that can't quite get to grips with the elegant unfolding as you play tutorials that most games have nowadays. If I can have a flick through a booklet that tells you what each button does, I'm good. I'll play that game and I'll do it well. But having a little button icon appear above my character's head when I'm in a specific scenario doesn't really work for me, I'm afraid. Today's game, and actually next week's game, thinking about it, are two that really instilled that appreciation for manuals in me for different reasons. This week's game gave me an appreciation for the how to play section, because of the do this to win mechanic that I think is unique to this franchise. When I first got it, I was there for a good few weeks wondering why I wasn't able to beat anybody in this game. I was playing as an enormous reptile, breathing fire and swiping at the haters left and right. But no matter what I did, I just couldn't finish a match. And on the off chance I did win, I'd lose points for using the same moves over and over again, which was utter bullshit. And then I read the manual, realised just what you needed to do to beat your opponents, got my stick flick on, and cruised to victory over and over in Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Race to the finish. It's the target thing, isn't it?
It's the race bit in the...
It was the adventure mode, wasn't
adventure,
it? Adventure,
yes, yeah. Race to the finish. It was in the temple, wasn't it? The Zelda temple.
It was. And you either had the Zelda music or the Fire Emblem music. And I remember I had a bit of a suspicion when I was trying to beat adventure mode on hard for the last trophy that I needed. If I got the Fire Emblem music, it meant that I was going to have a good run. And if I got the Zelda music, it meant I was going to have a bad run.
Oh, was that true?
I mean, probably on like a subconscious level, it probably impacted my confidence. So I'd say
I see.
It probably did. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Melee edges out Ultimate for me as the pinnacle of the series, if only because flicking the Joy-Con seems like a really terrible idea, given how prone to drifting they are. Oh, wowee, the amount of stuff in this game is absolutely unreal. Like, you want to fight through just match after match after match as your favourite character? Done. Fancy a romp through character-specific adventure scenarios? We've got that too. What about dumb event matches where you need to defeat the small monkey whilst avoiding the massive monkey? You can have that too. Are you a pacifist? Yeah, let's head over to the target range. Are you Babe Ruth? How far can you whack this sandbag with a baseball bat? Are you a gambler? Use coins you earn from fights on the gacha machine for figurines. Are you a nerd? Every figurine has a bio talking about the game it was in. It's a great format for an all-star fighting game, I think. You fight with the best, and then you learn about the rest, and then you start playing the games that everybody else is in, amass a huge collection, and then most likely an overdraft. People keep complaining about the game because every DLC fighter is like, oh, it's another Fire Emblem character. It's just viral marketing for the next Fire Emblem game. And so what? Like, it works. I bought Path of Radiance after unlocking Marth and Roy in this game. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this game apart from that, really. It's just a great game in a great series, not just for the bits that you play, but for the representation and the stuff you can learn. It came out at just the right time in my life, I think, to whet my appetite for a whole world outside of the next Zelda and Mario game.
Nice.
It doesn't have the sweeping, expansive storylines or the big open world of big games that sort of really have an impact on you, but it's just a fantastic game for what it is, and I've probably picked up quite a few games outside of what I would usually play just because I've seen them in the trophy collection.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem being one of them.
Animal Crossing, one for me.
Ah, yeah.
Was it? Was that your first exposure?
Yeah, because I think the Tom Nook trophy, it was one of the last ones I was trying to get. I agree with you, Minty. It's an absolutely, I mean, it's a phenomenal game. I think Nintendo figured out the formula for fun, and they kind of confirmed that with Super Smash Bros. And then went, right, well, let's build a billion things on top of this in Melee, and made an absolutely astonishing game. I remember when I had Melee and thinking, like, there's so much content in this, and when you look at kind of what they've added into Brawl and then in the whatever they called it, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, and then in Ultimate, it's just absurd how much stuff there is, and it's great. Like we said it before when you were talking about Super Smash Brothers, Chris.
Yeah.
That it's just a real celebration. It's like it's a
absolutely.
real celebration of games, not just Nintendo games, but just games in general. And Super Smash Bros. Melee hadn't branched out into sort of third-party characters.
No.
But still, again, it was just a real celebration of Nintendo's history. And I'd never heard of Fire Emblem before Super Smash Bros. Melee. I'd never heard of Earthbound. Like I said, I'd never heard of Animal Crossing. I didn't even really know much about Metroid at that point as well.
No, I don't think I did either. It came up before Metroid Prime, yeah.
Melee is another one of those games, Jonathan, like I said about Tony Hawk's 2 on the Game Boy, that I will forever know as a Jonathan Dunn game.
Excellent.
And because I remember you obsessively hunting trophies to the point where you were borrowing games off other people to get trophies associated with save files.
That sounds like something I would do. I don't remember that, but I believe you.
I think there was something like maybe Pikmin and something like that. You had to have a save on your memory card.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I do remember doing that. Goodness.
Jonathan Dunn classic with the spreadsheet open.
Oh, almost certainly. Absolutely, almost certainly. Piggybacking on what we were talking about last week, it's a real celebration of the GameCube controller as well.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Nintendo have had to implement GameCube controller support for every Super Smash Bros. Game since, for like the last 20 years. Because it's just a perfect combination.
Big A button, Minty.
Absolutely.
On a weird tangent.
Here we go.
Do you think This could be good. You know, in Nathan Barley,
Yeah.
you know Nathan's phone that has the giant number 5 key because he said it's the most used number.
Yeah.
Do you think that was inspired by the GameCube controller? Because Charlie Brooker was a big gamer.
I reckon you could be right.
I think there could be like an unconscious link there when he was writing that joke.
I think you need to tweet him and ask him.
Well, last time we did some digging with old, what's her name, TJ Davies from Sonic R, we got a response, so I could try this one.
Give it a go. Give it a go. So, lastly, it's me.
Hello.
Oh, do you remember Jonathan? Yeah.
Ah.
Let's turn our desks around and listen to him.
There are a lot of genres that I'd written off before Nintendo got their hands on them. I said before that until I played Mario Kart, I never really massively enjoyed racing games. I never liked online shooters until Splatoon came along, and I never got my head around fighting games until I got my 16th favourite video game. It's Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Hey!
It's a good game.
Now, I think even though Chris technically had Smash 4 on your list,
Yeah.
I think this still counts as Smash Bros. Being our 3 cents approved.
Yeah, it
right?
must do.
Got to.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Good. I definitely agree with a lot of what Chris said when you were talking about that game, that the versions of Smash have got better as they've gone on, certainly in terms of technical capability and variety, and they've continued to refine the formula just to the nth degree. But then again, there's a reason why they've included GameCube controller support for every Smash game since Melee, because that's the reference point. Anything they've added to the game hasn't made the game worse, but it hasn't made it significantly better to play, really, than it was before. And the GameCube controller, which is already a phenomenal control pad, has never been more suited to a game. In fact, rarely is there ever a control pad that is as suited to a game than the GameCube controller is to Smash. Like, you don't get people saying, oh, I've just managed to rig up my PlayStation 1 pad to play Metal Gear Solid 5 because it just feels better. It just doesn't happen. There was something about the time in my life when I was playing Melee that never got equalled by when I was playing Smash on 3DS and on Wii U. And Ultimate, we know, came out after we'd drawn a line under our list, so, I'll reserve my thoughts on that. But when I got Melee, this was the same time I was playing Super Monkey Ball, Super Mario Sunshine, bits of Time Splitters 2, and my friendship/rivalry with my friend Alec at the time saw our competition spill over from Monkey Ball and into Smash Brothers. But I don't have any recollection of actually playing him at it. like we never did any actual fights against each other. Instead, we just got obsessed with trying to complete the trophy collection in the game. which I'm sure comes as no surprise to you. So there were 290 trophies to get in the game, and pretty much all of them had very specific criteria needed to unlock them. And there were two in particular that me and Alec were racing each other to get. Crazy Hand and Discon. Now, the trophy for Crazy Hand, which is one of the final bosses in the game, you got that by beating Adventure Mode on hard. And this was hard. And there were several stages in Adventure Mode that seemed to undo us every time. Stage 11 was the fighting wireframes battle, where you had to beat 15 fighting wireframes in reduced gravity. Not an incredibly hard thing to do in isolation, but so easy to very quickly lose track of your placement, rack up a huge amount of damage very quickly. But this wasn't the hardest part of this stage, because as soon as you defeat the 15th wireframe, the Metal Mario Brothers turn up, Mario and Luigi in heavy metal form. Significantly harder to knock off the stage because of their increased weight. And again, very easy to just accidentally kamikaze yourself, trying to take them out by getting them as far away from the stage as possible, because they'd find it if they were far enough away from the stage, then because of their increased weight, they wouldn't be able to... Well, it's not increased weight because it changes gravity, it's because they're increased gravity, then they can't necessarily make it back to the stage like a normal fighter would. But in order to get them out far enough, then you might end up taking them too far and not be able to make it back yourself. And that was hard. And then there were the final boss fights. And in hard mode, after you defeat Bowser, you then have to fight Giga Bowser, who is a giant behemoth, pimped up version of Bowser, who takes up so much of the stage, it was damn near impossible to avoid getting hit by his various attacks. It was an incredibly hard trophy to get, and I confess that I never got it.
Aww.
Alec unlocked it on my game when he was showing me how to do it. And he showed me how to do it, and he did it. And I was like, there we go, never going to do that again. because it was difficult to the point of not being fun. Whereas everything else, like I spoke about Monkey Ball and how like I always quite enjoyed just the quick repeating, reloading the stage, trying again and again and again and again. But doing something like Adventure Mode on hard and getting to like the final boss and then having to restart and try again, it was just so soul destroying every time that I was like, well, it's done, it's on my save file, why not? Let's crack on. But the other trophy, Discon, was a bit more of an obscure trophy. I meant to do some research into actually who or what Discon is and what game he's from.
Look it
I'll
up.
do that now. Research time! Oh, so he was the mascot for the Famicom.
Oh, the Famicom disk system. The separate one that ran the big, massive floppy disk things. Okay.
There we go. So he's just a little squat yellow fella with big eyes. But anyway, he was one of the trophies, and it was a much more obscure trophy. And there wasn't just one criteria to unlocking him, not strictly speaking anyway, because in order to get him, you needed to have earned all 249 end of battle bonuses.
Jesus.
And some of these bonuses were achieved by fairly straightforward means, like you would get the Bird of Prey bonus for winning a match using only aerial attacks, or the Never Look Back bonus if you go through a whole fight without changing direction. A rather nice one was the Switzerland bonus, where you need to go through a battle without attacking anyone and never taking any damage. Personal favourite of mine was the Mrs. Saturn bonus, which you get if you held the entirely useless Mr. Saturn item for 30 seconds. Which I love Mr. Saturn anyway, so I had no problem doing that. So certainly a huge chunk of these bonuses you would end up getting through the course of playing the game, most of which by chance. But there was one that proved to be, I think, the hardest challenge in the game, which was the no damage clear. And to get that, you needed to get through the entire of Adventure Mode without taking a single piece of damage.
That's impossible.
Well, it's not.
That's not possible.
We'll find out. So obviously, you had to do that on very easy mode. Like that, but it was incredibly hard to keep up that sort of performance for 15 rounds of varying fights. And there were always just so many little anomalies that would come into play that you couldn't foresee, and that would just sneak in 1% of damage, ruin the whole run. We found many techniques that were quite reliable. One of the best ones was using Donkey Kong and using his down smash to sort of pound the ground, and then anyone who gets within that area of attack would get hurt before they could get an attack in. And on very easy difficulty, that would be enough to kind of, eventually kill them or get them off the stage. But that wouldn't work for all battles, and it certainly wouldn't work for the Master Hand fight, who doesn't go on the ground. I reckon I'd stand a better chance of beating Master Hand without taking damage these days now that I've got used to, the type of pattern recognition Dark Souls drills into you. But when I was a kid, I found it damn near impossible to avoid Master Hand's attacks for the whole battle. Incredibly tough thing to do, but did eventually do it. And that was so rewarding to get Discon. And I love that little guy. Oh. Can't remember which character I did it with in the end, actually. I think I might have ended up just using Link.
Link the Jobber.
Yeah, because I was also using Jigglypuff, because Jigglypuff, if you did the down B move, you would fall asleep. But if you did that whilst your character model was overlapping with another character model, then it would just cause an absurd amount of damage and would really send them flying. And that would often be enough to do it, but again, you couldn't do that with Master Hand. So then that approach fell apart. But these trophies were just a wonderful thing to have in the game. You were talking earlier, Chris, about that sense of having a collection in a game, like in the Picross games. And I think the trophy collections in Smash Brothers are the epitome of that, because they not only served as a record of your achievements, they served as exhibits in the museum of the history of Nintendo. Each trophy was accompanied by a lovely paragraph of flavour text, giving it some context, some history, letting you learn its place in the wider Nintendo canon. And also they were really nice, and probably not as high resolution as they were in my mind, but you could zoom into them, spin them around, really examine them from all angles. They're beautifully created little 3D models. And it was through the trophies that I learnt about so many other games. I think I mentioned before that I had no idea what Animal Crossing was until I got the Tom Nook trophy. And it wasn't just the trophies, just the roster of fighters were there as representatives from the different games and franchises that Nintendo had, many of which I'd never crossed paths with, like Earthbound and Fire Emblem, and I think even at that point, Metroid. And even though I've never fully submerged myself in the Fire Emblem series, it was entirely down to Melee why I took an affinity towards Roy, who, I mean, he always became my go-to fighter in future iterations when he did appear. I'm not going to bother talking about the gameplay of the game. You know, Chris and Minty, you both did a great job talking about some different facets of the game when it appeared in your lists. And also, Smash Brothers is so familiar to so many people that it doesn't really need another recap. But there are specific things about Melee that have a special place in my memory. And even though Smash Ultimate is, I think, the ultimate version of this format, it's still not trumped by Melee, even if it were eligible to be in our lists. And even though Ultimate helped me through an incredibly tough period of my life, which I recounted in our mental health special last year, there's something about the level of saturation in Ultimate that does dilute a lot of the aspects that were more precious to me in Melee.
Yeah.
Like, say, like the Pokeball items that appear. In Melee, I was seeing Pokemon come to life in a way that was still a real novelty to me. Yeah, I didn't have Pokemon Stadium, or I didn't have an N64, so I loved seeing Pokemon being animated in 3D. I loved the random nature of what could appear out of the Pokeballs. It made every one, every time, exciting. Like if a Pokeball fell on the stage, it didn't matter what else was going on, I would make a beeline for it to throw it, just because I needed to see what was in it. And there are also a couple of modes that I really loved in Melee that sadly haven't made a reappearance in Ultimate. One of which has now been rectified in a piece of DLC, which is the home run contest, where you beat 7 shades of shit out of a sandbag to try and hit it as far as you can. And that was endlessly fun, and it was great to find some really innovative techniques to really give that sack a wallop. But the main mode that was missing in Ultimate for me was the target smash mode, which I absolutely loved. So the way it worked was, in Melee, there would be a different level layout for each of the 26 characters, and there would be a selection of targets scattered around the level, and you would need to utilise all of the movement mechanics and attacks at each character's disposal to hit them all and to reach them all. And then you tried to do it as quick as you could. And I loved it. It was really fun to figure them out the first time you do them, basically like a puzzle platform game. And then you get to refine your technique, try alternate routes until you find the optimum way to dispatch all of the targets as swiftly and as deftly as possible. And among other things, these worked as just great tutorials for each of the characters. It made you get fully acquainted with the full breadth of each one's abilities and made for a much more comprehensible performance as each of them, if you then took them into a main Smash battle. This particular game means a whole lot to me. It's incredibly fun. It plays so unbelievably well. It clearly holds up today because the formula has barely gone further than a quiet tweak in all of the future versions of the game.
Yeah.
And, I've got some wonderful memories tied up with the game as well, And yeah, I guess all of these things add up to make Smash Bros. Melee my 16th favourite video game of all time.
R3 Sense approved. Smash Bros. The series.
Yeah.
A ringing endorsement.